Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. Let's take a look at some alts today. Things are popping off. Things are lifting up. Things are buoyant. People are getting excited. Headlines are bullish. Markets are loving the macro prints that we've gotten. There was a bit of a waiting game on whether or not PPI and CPI would come in hot or cold or add expectations relative to ISM from last week. We've got some more bullish headlines out of the Trump administration in regards to regulatory clarity right out of the gate here, and legacy hasn't broken down. So all those things are very helpful for BTC and alts. On dominance, it is still pretty clear to me. We're above the cloud, plain and simple. I'm a simple man, ladies and gentlemen. When we're above the cloud, I'm bullish. When we're below the cloud, I'm bearish. This says still to remain focused on BTC. Yes, any one alt can outperform BTC in a day or in a week, but on the whole, this tells you especially coins farther down the market cap are going to have a hard time consistently outperforming when dominance looks like this. Looking at total 2, this chart kind of looks like Sol, it kind of looks like ETH, kind of looks like Algo. Trend-wise, it's trying to recapture some bullishness, and maybe we get a double bottom here. Cloud's going to have a hard time on the daily catching this just because it happens very quickly here. It does best when things like beginning of 2024, almost 2 months of sideways before, maybe 3 months before picking back up again. So if this goes within a period of like a month and a half, pulling back and then lifting off again, the cloud on the daily is going to have trouble with these settings. You could either drop the settings in half or you could go to the 12-hour, do whatever you want. But on the daily here, we certainly look more bullish than bearish. That's undeniable across the board over the past couple days. Total 2 over BTC, still not quite where you'd want it to be just yet. Look, I get it. People are impatient. They want alt season yesterday. They want Lambos last week, whatever. Trend metrics are simple here. Still flat. This is basically ETH BTC. Not really seeing a massive reason to jump into non-BTC things here. On the whole, on balance, looking at the market broadly. Okay, I don't need to hear that, Ripple's up 10% today. I see that. I get it. This, of all the charts, tells you BTC on a relative value based on market cap is potentially at some peak. If we think of this as like kinetic energy for alts or money that could slosh into alts outside of stables, this is one way to look at that. So this is Bitcoin market cap minus total market cap excluding BTC. So BTC minus total 2. Previous market cycle highs occur or have occurred when alts as a group are worth more by market cap than BTC. That's both 2018 and 2021, 2022. We are not even to the zero line yet. We are still rising here on a BTC versus alt market cap basis, which is kind of phenomenal considering there's an infinite amount of alts and there's only 21 million BTC, right? Similar to dominance in some sense. But if this starts to break down, it is a long way to break down to give some back. If momentum shifts towards alts and away from just BTC, and then to measure end of cycle froth, it would be alts worth more than BTC on a market cap basis. So we're extremely far away from that. And this hasn't even swung down towards alt's favor yet. Before I go any further here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with the link in the description of this video. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures Inc., PBI, DBA, Kraken. Looking at the old BTC here, looking at the charts, we definitely had this high risk of breaking down. Talked about that last week. This week, Sunday, I said two things. The tech is definitely bearish and the tech could definitely be wrong. So far, both seem to be true. We haven't broken down, and it certainly was bearish going into the beginning of the week. Much like that total 2 chart for the cloud on the daily is going to have a hard time getting back into this after the chop we've seen for the past 60 days, aka bullish TK recross price above cloud. That's going to take some time. But what we can do is say, all right, what's the range that we've seen? If this is the range high, what do we want to see? We want to see a move above 100K, ultimately, that we actually hold for more than a day. That's very important. It's important that somebody doesn't come in here and sell us down at 100 immediately. Now, there's maybe a megaphone here, maybe there's an inverted head and shoulders, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is, if we hold 100, great. The longer we hold 100, the higher my confidence gets that, yes, this is real deal and we can resume the trend. I'm all for it. Love to see it. But since we broke 92, we have not been able to hold 100 for a decent amount of time yet. So that's definitely the first thing to watch. But much like every other time we were near 100, this looks very bullish. It's undeniable. Undeniable. It scares me a little bit that Ripple's up here at the top of the volume list on Kraken. This did have a IHSE type thing. You know, anything that is making multiple attempts at lows, doesn't make new lower lows, holds on to a consistent local neckline, is a candidate in my book. This is the 4 hour, it's low time frame. This did sort of need BTC to be and hold bullish, which it did, but it looks good. And it is, I think, barely at, yeah, so all-time highs are pretty close there at the Big Mac parity at that time, 335. The Big Mac parity today in the year 2025 would be approximately $5.30. So we'll see if we get there on that one. XRP BTC breaking up today as well. If we zoom way out on this one, we're also at kind of a key inflection point. If we measure this as a range and we say, this is the top, this is the bottom, midpoint about here-ish. Are we going to find resistance? Is it going to break out? Are we going to get ETFs? Is there going to be some regime regulatory clarity for Ripple that's going to help this? Maybe. We'll see. ETH, the only thing I really care about this year, the entirety of the year. I don't really care about whatever this is. We can say this is a thing, but I don't really care about this. It's there. The target on this is what everybody's going to want to tell you, which is somewhere between 10 and 15. It's not there. It's there. It's just, I don't really care about that this year. Let's just see it get above 4 and hold 4. This is what I care about this year. This is the only chart I care about. I don't really care about the trend because the trend's going to be confused, but it will keep you on the right side of this thing. AKA, it's not going to run away without you before this starts trending bullish. And if we just think of this as an inverted head and shoulders, this is the only thing that matters. Nothing else. I don't care about supply. I don't care about ETFs. I don't care about in-kind. I don't care about staking. I don't care about anything else. This is the only chart that matters to me, because when this breaks 4, everything else is going to start to look better. You're going to get the flows. It's probably going to happen around some sort of staking announcement, blah, 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 blah. So if this can get to 4, hold 4, break out, that's all that matters. Nothing else. End of story. ETH BTC tends to do best first half of the year. This thing has turned into some ugly monstrosity. To call this an inverted head and shoulders is probably a bit of a stretch at this point. But what you don't want is seeing any more new local lows. And ultimately, you want this thing above the daily cloud. That's kind of it. Just to simplify it on a trend perspective, we're not quite there yet. Sol, much like that total 2 chart, will this be a W double bottom? Maybe. What you do based on that information is obviously up to you. Probably want to watch this on like the 12-hour if you can. Maybe this is a W. Maybe we get a right shoulder. Maybe it's a triple bottom, quad bottom, right? I don't know. You just got to watch it and find out on a day-to-day basis. Anything above 220, and it's probably good to go. Sol BTC just ranging, not really telling you much of anything. I mean, between ETH and Sol on the BTC pair, unless you're bullish ETH, unless you're confident with a high degree of confidence that we're breaking 4K this year, there's really no reason to hold either of them. There just isn't. They haven't done anything. It's been a year of chop. And you could say, well, the range is plus or minus, what is this? Plus 30%, minus 20, 30%, whatever. Okay, you know, if you're trading this on the range, fine. But if I'm trading alts, I'm looking for 50 to 250% moves. I'm not looking for this like piddly 25% move. That's just me. Doge, much like most charts that aren't BTC and Ripple, kind of a W here going on, starting to look more bullish. The question I have for all these alts that are up Even Sol. Sol is still up 1,000% since 2023. Doge is up 300% since November. So I guess the question I'm wondering is, how much do we really have in the tank here for this to keep going up? I mean, we're as close as we are to a Ripple all-time high. We're not that far away from a Doge all-time high. 49% sounds like a lot, but in Doge terms, in Doge years, that is not that high, not that far. Where does this go is the question. If we remind ourselves of this old channel thing, maybe we can measure this from here to here. And I got to assume we get close to $1. We try to break $1. So I don't know. It's just the difficulty here is it had a great pattern. It broke out on the weekly cloud, and you have to be pretty confident that everything's going to go right for this to move higher. I'm not saying it can't or won't. I just like the setup a little less than I did sub 25 cents. Cardano on the weekly as well also looks okay, looks fine. On the daily, turning up like many other things are, and that's what you want to see if you're bullish at a story. Sui has held loosely this channel, looks okay. Again, I don't know if there's a great trade or setup here. As a trend, it still looks intact and looks fine. I have no issues with it. But at this point, is it going to outperform everything else? I don't know. I mean, algo's up 20% today, like some of this stuff that has just gotten so beaten down for so long. This is the time, this next year. If there's a time ever, this is the time. I mean, I was looking at this chart too today, Link ETH, it on a high time frame. To me, this favors Link all day. This favors ETH beta. And this is kind of the issue. You're bullish ETH. Do you load up on DeFi, ETH beta, meme coins? That's up to the individual. But this chart looks very bullish to me relative to ETH, especially if it can push a little bit higher. Back to the meme coins, Pepe, just like Doge, it's just tough because this thing is up 1,500% still. Didn't break down, probably won't if everything else doesn't break down. It kept you out of trouble. There's a parallel universe. You have to remember, there's a parallel universe where we don't get the outcome we got and we saw today. Not that that matters if you're in cash, but I'm just saying there's a parallel universe where BTC breaks down and it takes everything with it. And that's what the cloud is saving you from. That tried to happen, didn't happen, and now everything is back to party time. We're so back, right? So from a trend perspective, it's a very awkward period where it was almost correct in pulling you out. Realistically, it did save you and pulled you out. But the trouble is getting you back in. It's going to be slightly lagging if this stuff all takes off at once. Link on the daily, still not quite there yet. Above the cloud for me. Some DeFi stuff, Curve looks okay. Some of this stuff you just sort of have to grin and bear it. Again, if you're bullish on DeFi this year, pick your 5 favorites. If you're bullish on decentralized exchanges, pick your 5 favorites. If you're bullish on AI, pick your 5, right? I mean, now's the time. If there's ever a time, now's the time. FTM, just kind of range chop. Not really going to help from a TA perspective. Really nothing to do there, despite being on 14% today. Tau, same thing. What is there to do here? It's been ranging. I don't see a trend as a trend trader. It's just not for me. Lido, also very choppy, very choppy. TIA, bottom of the range. Not convincing enough for me. I was more convinced when this was above the cloud. So it's going to take some time for that to happen. But it looks like it's trying to bottom. Aave, same thing, kind of negating any triple top fears. Similar to Doge, it's up a lot. What can we really expect here? Is this a massive cup and handle? What is your expectations for lending and borrowing protocols this year? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It looks plenty fine. It looks plenty okay on the USD pair, on the BTC pair. Nice little inverted head and shoulders there against ETH. We'll see if they have it here on Kraken. They do. Let's take a look. Against ETH, also breaking out, has broken out. So it looks good against ETH as well. So if you're bullish alts, if you're watching this video, you're probably bullish alts. It's probably a decent time frame to look at some high time frame charts, compare to BTC and ETH, see what you like, and move your feet a little bit. LTC looks fine on the weekly, still kind of in the range, not really much going on technical wise, and still just flat for the most part here. If this is able to hold the low, which it looks like it's trying to, someplace above 250 is a reasonable price. But in what time frame? No clue. Let's take a look at Uni, because I mentioned DEXs. Again, it looks okay. It looks okay. Doesn't look bearish on high time frames. If we look at Uni ETH, if that's on here, it is. Uni ETH, just like Link ETH, also looks pretty good. Cloud flipping this week, next week. On the weekly, it's bottomed. It's been flat for 3 years. So I would definitely look at things, if you're bullish ETH like me, ETH for the most part is good enough if I'm bullish ETH. But if you want to go down the list, I would look at these charts, and stuff like this is what I like. It's done nothing for 3 years. And if we're going into this upswing for alts, or for alts that have been here a while and paid their dues and been beaten down, maybe these start to do better on a relative value basis compared to layer ones. That's all for this one today. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.